The alien ship appeared near Earth's moon without warning. It was not like anything humans had seen before. The vessel looked like a giant crystal that had been carved by skilled hands. Blue lights ran along its surface in patterns that seemed to pulse with life. Captain Lisa Brown stood on the bridge of the space station Unity, watching the strange ship through the large windows. "They are asking to talk?" said Lieutenant Sam Rogers from his position at the communication desk. His voice carried surprise and worry. The message is in perfect English. Lisa felt her heart beat faster. First contact with aliens was something humans had dreamed about for hundreds of years. Now it was happening and she was in charge. She looked at the faces of her crew. They all waited for her decision. "Put them through," she said. The main screen flickered and showed a face that was both alien and somehow familiar. The being had large golden eyes and skin that looked like it was made of pale blue metal. When it spoke, its voice was soft and musical. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Admiral Zexhai of the Kellari Confederation. We come to you in our darkest hour seeking help." Lisa stepped forward. "Welcome, Admiral Zexhai. I am Captain Lisa Brown of the Earth Defense Force. What kind of help do you need?" The alien's large eyes seemed to fill with sadness. "Our people are dying, Captain Brown. An empire called the Vorthak has been destroying worlds across the galaxy. They have taken 70 of every 100 star systems in known space. Our fleets are broken, our colonies burn. Soon there will be no Kellari left alive." Lisa felt a chill run down her back. "What are these Vorthak like?" "They are insects, Captain Brown, but they are smart like you and me. They fight in huge groups and they never show mercy. When they take a world, they do not just kill the soldiers, they kill everyone. Men, women, children. They eat some and make others into slaves. They turn beautiful worlds into hives for their young." The bridge became very quiet. Lisa could hear the soft hum of the station's machines. She thought about Earth and all the people on it. She thought about her own children back home. "Admiral, what exactly are you asking from us?" she said. "We have watched your people for many cycles of your sun. We know you are young in space, but you have good hearts. We need food for our refugees. We need medicine for our wounded. We need ships to carry our people to safety. We do not ask you to fight. We know you are not ready for war against the Vorthak." Lisa looked at Lieutenant Rogers, who was recording everything. She thought about what the alien was asking. It seemed simple enough. Food, medicine, transport ships. But she knew that once humans got involved in something, they did not do it halfway. "Admiral, I need to talk to my commanders on Earth. Can you wait while I contact them?" "Of course, Captain Brown. Time is important, but we can wait. Every moment we delay, more of my people die, but we understand you must think about this carefully." The screen went dark. Lisa turned to her crew. Their faces showed the same mix of excitement and fear that she felt. Lieutenant Rogers spoke first. "Captain, should I send a message to Admiral Jack Murphy at Earth Command?" "Yes, Sam. Send everything we just recorded. Tell the Admiral this is priority one. Also contact President Helen Carter's office. This is bigger than just the military." As Rogers worked at his station, Lisa looked back out the window at the alien ship. It hung there in space like a blue jewel against the black. She wondered what these Kellari people were really like. She wondered what the Vorthak were like too. The description made them sound like monsters from old Earth. Stories. 2 hours later, the response came back from Earth. Admiral Murphy's face appeared on the screen. He was a tall man with gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. Lisa had served under him for 10 years and had never seen him look so serious. "Captain Brown, I have talked to the President and the Earth Council. We are going to help these people. But I want you to understand something. When humans decide to help, we do not do small things. We are sending you full authority to negotiate with these aliens. Tell them Earth will provide what they need." Lisa felt a mix of pride and worry. "Admiral, what if this brings the Vorthak to Earth?" Murphy's smile was cold. "Captain, let me worry about that. You just focus on helping these refugees." "But Lisa, I want you to learn everything you can about these Vorthak. How they fight, what they want, how their ships work. Everything. Yes, sir? Should I tell the Kalari about our military capabilities? Not yet, Captain. Let them think we are just a young race that wants to help. Sometimes it is better when the enemy does not know what is coming. The screen went dark, and Lisa was alone with her thoughts. She looked out at the alien ship again and wondered what she had just set in motion. Colonel Ryan Davis stood in the briefing room aboard the stealth ship Aurora, looking at star maps that showed Vorthak-controlled space. The red zones covered most of the galaxy like a disease spreading across healthy tissue. He had been chosen to lead the reconnaissance mission because he was the best at staying hidden and getting information that others could not find. "Colonel, we will be jumping to the Theta sector in 1 hour," said Commander Bill Hayes from the navigation station. "Intelligence says the Vorthak are attacking a Kilari research station there." Ryan nodded and looked at his team. Dr. Kate Williams sat at the science station studying Vorthak biology reports. She was the smartest person he knew when it came to understanding alien life forms. Lieutenant Tony Clark worked at the weapons station, making sure their stealth systems would keep them hidden. Sergeant Maria Lopez checked the recording equipment they would use to document everything they saw. The Aurora was humanity's most advanced stealth ship. It could hide from almost any sensor and stay invisible while watching enemy movements. The mission was simple, but dangerous. They needed to see how the Vorthak fought so Earth could prepare for what might come next. "Jump in 30 seconds, announced Commander Hayes. Ryan felt the familiar twist in his stomach as the ship moved faster than light. When it ended, they were in a new star system. The main screen showed a yellow sun with several planets. One of the planets had a large space station orbiting it. "There," whispered Dr. Williams, pointing at the screen. "That must be the Kilari research station." Ryan looked at what she was pointing at and felt his blood turn cold. The station was under attack by ships that looked like nothing he had ever seen. The Vorthak vessels were black and moved like living things. They had no smooth lines or careful design. Instead, they looked like they had been grown rather than built. "Count 30 Vorthak attack ships," reported Lieutenant Clark. "They are using some kind of energy weapons and what looks like living missiles." The living missiles were the worst part. Ryan watched in horror as creatures the size of fighter jets flew from the Vorthak ships toward the station. When they hit, they did not explode. Instead, they ate through the metal walls like acid. "Dear God," whispered Sergeant Lopez, "are those things alive?" Dr. Williams was recording everything with shaking hands. "They appear to be bioweapons. Living creatures modified to be used as weapons. This is against every rule of civilized warfare." On the screen they could see Kilari ships trying to defend the station. The alien vessels were beautiful with flowing lines and bright colors, but they were no match for the Vorthak swarm. The insect ships moved in perfect coordination like a single mind controlled them all. "Colonel, look at Section 7 of the station," said Commander Hayes. Ryan turned his attention to where Hayes was pointing and felt sick. The Vorthak had broken through the station's hull and were boarding it. Through the Aurora's powerful sensors, they could see what was happening inside. The Vorthak looked like giant insects that walked on 2 legs. They had 4 arms that ended in claws and heads that were mostly mouthful of sharp teeth. They moved through the station corridors, killing everything they found. But they did not kill quickly. "They are taking prisoners," observed Dr. Williams. Her voice was very quiet. "But look what they are doing to them." Ryan did not want to look, but he forced himself to watch. The Vorthak were not just capturing Kilari civilians. They were torturing them. Some prisoners were being used as living shields when the insects moved through the station. Others were being eaten alive while still conscious. "This is not war," said Lieutenant Clark. "This is systematic cruelty." For 6 hours, the Aurora watched the destruction of the research station. The human crew documented everything in silent horror. They saw Vorthak soldiers use children as bait to draw out defending adults. They saw wounded Kilari being slowly consumed by insect larvae. They saw scientific equipment that could have helped millions being destroyed. Just for the joy of destruction. When it was over, the station was gone and every person on it was dead. The Vorthak ships moved away toward the next target, leaving nothing but debris and death behind them. "Take us home, Commander," Ryan said quietly. The journey back to Earth took 3 days. Ryan spent the time writing his report and trying not to think about what he had seen. Dr. Williams worked on analyzing the biological samples she had collected from long-range sensors. The rest of the crew was very quiet. When they reached Earth, Ryan went directly to the Pentagon. Admiral Murphy was waiting for him along with President Helen Carter and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Ryan had never briefed the President before, and under other circumstances he would have been nervous. But what he had seen made everything else seem small. "Show them," was all Admiral Murphy said. Ryan activated the holographic display and began showing the recordings from Theta Sector. He watched as the faces around the table went from curious to shocked to angry. When he showed the footage of Vorthak soldiers torturing prisoners, President Carter stood up and walked away from the table. "How many star systems have they taken?" asked General Alex Stone. 70% of known space, sir. That represents billions of sentient beings. And they do this everywhere they go? Asked the President. According to Kilari reports, yes, ma'am. The Vorthak do not just conquer. They seem to enjoy causing pain and fear. President Carter was quiet for a long moment. And she looked around the table at all the military leaders. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are not just talking about helping refugees anymore. We are talking about stopping monsters." General Stone leaned forward. "Ma'am, are you authorizing military action?" The President looked at the frozen image on the holographic display. It showed a Vorthak soldier holding a Kilari child while other insects advanced on hiding civilians. "General, I am authorizing whatever it takes to make sure this never happens again. Not to the Kilari and not to anyone else." Admiral Murphy smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Ma'am, I think I speak for everyone here when I say we are ready to show these insects what happens when you threaten innocent people." Ryan felt something cold and determined settle in his chest. He thought about Earth and his own family. He thought about the Kilari who had asked for simple aid. Most of all, he thought about the footage he had just shown and knew that humanity would never let such evil go unpunished. Admiral Jack Murphy stood in the war room deep beneath the Pentagon watching displays that showed military activity across human space. Every shipyard from Earth to the outer colonies was working at maximum capacity. What had started as a humanitarian mission was now becoming the largest military mobilization in human history. "Sir, the Luna yards report the heavy cruiser Vengeance will be ready for launch in 6 days, reported Captain Nicole Parker from her position at the Fleet Coordination Station. That is 3 weeks ahead of schedule." Murphy nodded but kept his eyes on the main display. It showed hundreds of civilian ships being converted into military vessels. Cargo haulers were getting armor and weapons. Passenger liners were becoming troop transports. Even mining ships were being turned into makeshift carriers. "What about the Kilari training program?" he asked. Commander Steve Phillips stepped forward. He had been working with the alien pilots for 2 weeks and looked tired but excited. "Admiral, their pilots are brave, but they think about fighting in completely different ways than we do. They try to minimize damage and avoid casualties even when fighting for their lives." "Can you train them to be more aggressive?" Phillips smiled. "Sir, I showed them footage of the Battle of Midway yesterday. When they saw how our pilots at Midway kept attacking even when outnumbered 50-1, they got very quiet. I think they are starting to understand that humans do not give up." Murphy turned his attention to Lieutenant Amy Johnson, who was working with Kilari engineers. "Lieutenant, how are allies adapting to human military technology?" Johnson looked up from her technical reports. "Admiral, their ships are beautiful and very advanced in some ways, but they never designed them for real war. They have almost no armor and their weapons are designed to disable rather than destroy. We are upgrading everything we can, but it will take time." Across the room, Dr. Kate Williams was working with a team of human scientists developing new weapons based on what they had learned about Vorthak biology. Murphy walked over to check on their progress. "Doctor, what do you have for me?" Williams looked up from her microscope. Admiral, the Vorthak have some interesting weaknesses. Their hive mind communication system uses biological signals that we can disrupt. Their chitinous armor is strong, but it becomes brittle when exposed to certain frequencies. Most importantly, they seem to have never fought an enemy that uses psychological warfare. Explain psychological warfare. Sir, the Vorthak expect their enemies to be afraid? They use terror as a weapon because it has always worked. But humans do not respond to fear the way other species do. When we get scared, we get angry. When we get angry, we fight harder. Murphy understood. Humanity had been fighting wars for thousands of years and had learned that sometimes the best defense was a terrifying offense. How long until you have working weapons? 2 weeks, sir. I am designing biological agents that will specifically target Vorthak physiology. Nothing that will hurt other species but deadly to insects. Murphy left the science team and walked to the communications center where Captain Lisa Brown was coordinating with Kilari refugees. She had been promoted and given command of the first human convoy that would carry aid to Kilari space. Captain, how are our alien friends handling the reality of human military preparation? Lisa looked thoughtful. Admiral, they seem confused. Sir, they asked for food and medicine and refugee transport. Now they see us building battleships and training armies. Admiral Zexhai asked me yesterday if we were planning to invade Vorthak space. What did you tell him? I told him that humans do not do anything halfway, sir. When we commit to helping someone, we mean all the way, Murphy approved. The Kilari would learn soon enough what human commitment really meant. He walked to the main planning table where General Alex Stone was working with other commanders on battle strategy. General, what is our timeline? Stone looked up from holographic battle maps. Admiral, we will be ready to begin operations in 1 month. The first phase will be defensive. We escort Kilari civilians to safety while testing Vorthak responses to human tactics, and after that, Stone's smile was cold. After that, we show these insects what total war looks like. We have identified 17 major Vorthak staging areas. We hit all of them simultaneously while their main fleet is busy chasing our convoy. Murphy studied the battle plans. They were complex and dangerous, but they showed something that made him proud. Human military planners did not think about winning single battles. They thought about winning entire wars. 3 weeks later, Captain Lisa Brown stood on the bridge of the converted cargo ship Liberty, watching her convoy prepare to jump into Kilari space. 50 human vessels carried food, medicine, and refugee supplies, but they also carried hidden weapons and the most advanced sensors human technology could build. Captain, we have 20 Kilari escort ships requesting permission to join the convoy, reported her communications officer, Lieutenant Dan Foster. Lisa looked at the alien ships on her display. They were small and graceful, but she knew they would not be much help if trouble came. Grant permission, Lieutenant. Tell them to stay close to the refugee transports. Admiral Zexhai appeared on her main screen. The Kilari looked nervous. Captain Brown, are you certain this convoy can make it through Vorthak patrol zones? My people have lost many ships trying to run supplies, Lisa smiled. Admiral, your people have been trying to avoid fights. Humans take a different approach. If the Vorthak want to stop us, they are welcome to try. But Captain, your ships are not warships. They are cargo vessels. Admiral, you would be surprised what human cargo vessels can do when properly motivated. The convoy jumped into hyperspace and began the journey to Kilari refugee camps. Lisa knew that Vorthak scouts would detect them soon. She also knew that the insects would expect easy prey. They had no idea that every human ship carried weapons that could destroy vessels twice their size. More importantly, they had no idea that this convoy was not just carrying aid, it was carrying a message. The message was simple: humanity had arrived. And the rules of this war were about to change completely. As the Liberty moved through hyperspace toward the first test of human resolve, Lisa thought about the footage Colonel Davis had brought back. She thought about children being used as shields and prisoners being tortured for sport. Most of all, she thought about the promise President Carter had made. The Vorthak had asked for total war by their actions. They were about to learn that humans were very good at giving people exactly what they asked for. The Vorthic patrol fleet intercepted the human convoy exactly where General Stone had predicted they would. Captain Lisa Brown watched 15 insect warships drop out of hyperspace in front of her 50-vessel convoy. The alien ships looked like giant black beetles with weapons that glowed red in the darkness of space. "Captain, they are demanding our surrender," reported Lieutenant Dan Foster from the communications station. "The lead ship is transmitting in broken English." Lisa smiled coldly. "Put them through, Lieutenant." The main screen flickered and showed a Vorthek commander. The creature was even more horrible in person than in the recordings. Its head was mostly mouth filled with rows of sharp teeth. 4 arms ended in claws that looked like they could tear through metal. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding metal. "Human creatures, you carry supplies to Kilari cowards. You will surrender ships and cargo. Survivors will serve Vorthik Empire." Lisa stepped forward. "I have a counter-offer for you. Turn around and go home. This is your only warning." The Vorthik commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "Stupid mammals think they can threaten the swarm. We have destroyed 1,000 fleets. Your primitive ships will burn like all the others." "I guess we will see about that," Lisa said and cut the transmission. She turned to her weapons officer. "Lieutenant Carl Mason, Lieutenant, activate all hidden weapons systems. Send the activation code to all ships in the convoy." Across the convoy, 50 cargo ships that looked helpless suddenly transformed. Hidden armor plating slid into place. Concealed weapons turrets rose from fake cargo containers. The vessels that the Vorthik expected to be easy prey revealed themselves. As disguised warships the Vorthik commander must have realized something was wrong because his ships began advancing faster. But they were too late. Lisa had spent weeks studying Vorthak tactics, and she knew they always attacked in the same pattern. "All ships execute attack pattern Griffin," she ordered. The human convoy did something no Vorthak enemy had ever done. Instead of running or trying to defend themselves, they attacked. 50 ships charged directly at 15 larger vessels. While every gun they had opened fire, the Vorthak expected their enemies to be afraid. Fear made opponents predictable and easy to defeat, but the humans were not afraid. They were angry. Every person in the convoy had seen the footage from Theta Sector. They knew what the Vorthak did to prisoners. Lieutenant Mason coordinated the weapons fire with deadly precision. "Target their command ship first. All vessels concentrate fire on the lead insect." The Vorthak command ship disappeared in a ball of plasma fire. The remaining 14 ships tried to reorganize, but human tactics did not give them time. The convoy split into attack groups that hit the insects from multiple directions at once. "Captain, their formation is breaking apart," reported the tactical officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim. "They do not know how to handle being attacked instead of doing the attacking." Lisa watched the battle unfold on her screens. The Vorthek ships were individually more powerful than human vessels, but they fought like they expected to overwhelm weak enemies. When faced with coordinated aggression, they seemed confused. 2 more insect ships exploded under concentrated human fire. The remaining Vorthak vessels tried to retreat, but the convoy pursued them. Admiral Zexhi's voice came over the communication system, sounding shocked. "Captain Brown, what are your ships doing? This is not how space battles are supposed to work." Lisa kept her eyes on the tactical display. "Admiral, this is how humans fight wars. We do not wait for the enemy to come to us. We take the fight to them." The battle lasted 20 minutes. When it was over, 14 Vorthik warships were destroyed and 1 was disabled. The human convoy had lost 3 ships, but saved 47. More importantly, they had sent a message that would spread through the insect empire. Colonel Ryan Davis led the boarding party that searched the disabled Vorthik vessel. What they found confirmed everything Dr. Williams had predicted about insect psychology. The ship's computer systems contained detailed records of Vorthek victories. Every battle showed the same pattern. The insects attacked weaker enemies who ran away or tried to hide. "Colonel, look at this," called Sergeant Maria Lopez from the ship's command center. These computers have tactical data on thousands of battles. The Vorthak have never fought anyone who attacked them back. Ryan studied the battle records. Every enemy the insects had faced tried to fight defensively. They built walls and shields and hoped to survive until help came. No one had ever charged straight at Vorthak ships and tried to destroy them all. Sergeant, collect everything you can. Command needs to see this. While Ryan's team gathered intelligence, Dr. Williams worked on analyzing biological samples from the ship's crew. The dead insects showed clear signs of shock and confusion. Their brain chemistry indicated they had been terrified in the last moments of the battle. "This is remarkable," she told Ryan over the communication system. "These creatures are psychologically unprepared for aggressive enemies. Their entire military doctrine is based on fighting fearful opponents." General Stone received the battle reports at Earth Command and immediately called an emergency meeting with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The holographic display showed the convoy battle from multiple angles. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you are seeing is the beginning of a new type of warfare. The Vorthak expect their enemies to be afraid. When we attack them instead of running away, their entire battle plan falls apart." Admiral Murphy studied the tactical data. "General, how do we use this advantage?" Stone activated a new display showing Vorthak-controlled space. "Sir, we implement the Terran War Protocol. We identify their major hive worlds and military installations, then we attack all of them at the same time. That would require enormous resources. Yes, sir, it would. But the alternative is fighting a long war of attrition against an enemy that controls most of the galaxy. We need to show them that humans do not fight defensive wars." President Carter joined the meeting by secure communication from the White House. "General, what are the risks of this strategy?" "Ma'am, if we fail the Vorthak, we'll know exactly how dangerous humans are. They will attack Earth with everything they have." "And if we succeed?" Stone smiled grimly. "If we succeed, ma'am, the Vorthak Empire will cease to exist within 6 months. The president was quiet for a long moment. "General, you have my authorization to proceed. Show these monsters what happens when they threaten innocent people." As the meeting ended, General Stone began implementing plans that would change the course of the war. The convoy battle had been a test. It proved that human aggression could break Vorthak tactics. Now it was time to scale that aggression up to the level of entire fleets and star systems. The insects had dominated the galaxy through fear and superior numbers. They were about to learn that humans had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of warfare. When humanity decided to destroy an enemy, they did not stop until the job was finished completely. President Helen Carter stood in the White House Situation Room watching reports flood in from across human space. Every military installation was working at maximum capacity. Shipyards that normally built 1 vessel per month were now launching 3 per week. The entire human economy had shifted to support what military planners were calling Operation Cleansing Fire. "Ma'am, we have confirmation from Admiral Murphy," reported Secretary of Defense Janet Webb. "The fleet is ready to begin simultaneous attacks on 17 Vorthak stronghold systems." Carter looked at the holographic star map that showed target locations across the galaxy. Each red dot represented a major insect military base or hive world. Intelligence suggested that hitting all 17 at once would cripple Vorthak ability to coordinate their empire. "What about casualties?" Carter asked. General Alex Stone answered from his position at the planning table. "Ma'am, we estimate 30% losses in the attacking fleets. But if the operation succeeds, we will save billions of lives on planets still under Vorthak control." Carter nodded grimly. The mathematics of war were always terrible, but the alternative was worse. Intelligence reports showed that the Vorthak were accelerating their extermination programs on occupied worlds. Waiting longer would only mean more innocent deaths. "General, you are authorized to begin the operation." 3 days later, Captain Lisa Brown stood on the bridge of her new command ship, the battlecruiser Defiance, watching the largest fleet in human history prepare for battle. 200 vessels from every branch of human military service hung in space around her. Converted cargo ships flew alongside purpose-built destroyers. Civilian volunteers crewed former luxury liners that now carried enough firepower to destroy entire cities. "Captain, we are receiving final coordination signals from the other task forces," reported her communications officer, Lieutenant Dan Foster. "All 17 fleets are in position." Lisa looked at the tactical display showing her target system. Long-range sensors revealed 6 Vorthak hive worlds orbiting a red giant star. The insects had turned these planets into massive breeding facilities that produced millions of new soldiers every year. Lieutenant Foster signaled Admiral Murphy that Task Force 7 is ready to begin attack run. The response came back immediately. "All task forces execute Operation Cleansing Fire. Good luck and good hunting." Lisa felt the familiar twist in her stomach as the fleet jumped to hyperspace. When they emerged, they were in the target system facing a Vorthak defensive fleet of over 300 ships. The insects had been waiting for them, but the humans had learned from their previous encounters. Instead of attacking directly, they split into multiple groups and hit the defenders from 6 different directions. The Vorthak tried to form defensive formations, but human ships moved too fast and hit too hard. "Ma'am, Vorthak command ship is trying to coordinate their defense," reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim from the tactical station. "Should we target it first?" "Negative, Lieutenant. Let them try to coordinate. Dr. Williams has prepared a special surprise for their hive mind communication system." On cue, Dr. Williams activated her latest weapon from the science station aboard the Defiance. The biological virus she had developed began transmitting on the same frequencies the Vorthak used for their hive mind network. Within minutes, insect commanders across the system were receiving contradictory orders and false information. The results were immediate and devastating. Vorthak ships began firing on each other as confusion spread through their ranks. Formations that had worked perfectly for thousands of years fell apart when commanders could not trust their own communication systems. "This is incredible," whispered Lieutenant Amy Johnson from her engineering station. "Their entire fleet is destroying itself." Lisa watched the chaos unfold on her screens but felt no joy. The Vorthak deserved what was happening to them, but war was always ugly, even when it was necessary. "All ships press the attack. Do not give them time to adapt." The battle for the hive system lasted 8 hours. When it was over, the Vorthak defensive fleet was completely destroyed and human forces controlled the orbital space around all 6 planets. But the real work was just beginning. Colonel Ryan Davis led the ground assault on the largest hive world. His Marines wore environmental suits designed to protect them from the toxic atmosphere the insects preferred. What they found on the surface was worse than anything in the intelligence reports. The entire planet had been turned into a single massive hive. Cities that had once belonged to other species were now breeding chambers filled with Vorthak larvae. The bones of previous inhabitants were used as building materials. Organic waste from billions of insects had turned rivers into streams of poison. "Colonel, this is genocide on a planetary scale," reported Sergeant Maria Lopez over the communication system. "There's nothing left alive here except Vorthak and their food animals." Ryan felt sick but kept his voice steady. "Sergeant, implement sterilization protocol? Nothing on this planet can be allowed to survive." The sterilization protocol was Dr. Williams' final solution to the Vorthak problem. Targeted biological weapons would kill every insect on the planet while leaving the ENVI or ONMENT able to recover for other species. It was genocide, but it was genocide against monsters who had committed genocide against hundreds of other races. Similar scenes played out across all 17 target systems. Human fleets destroyed Vorthak defenses while ground forces eliminated breeding facilities and command centers. The insects tried to surrender in several systems, but General Stone's orders were clear. No prisoners, no mercy, no survivors. Back on Earth, Admiral Murphy coordinated the massive operation from his command center deep beneath the Pentagon. Reports came in every few hours showing human victories across the galaxy. But the most important report came from intelligence analysis of captured Vorthak communications. Sir, the Insect High Command is in complete panic, reported Captain Nicole Parker. They are recalling fleets from occupied systems to defend their core worlds, Murphy smiled coldly. Captain, that is exactly what we wanted. Signal all reserve. Fleets to begin liberation operations. While the Vorthek are busy trying to save their homelands, we take back everything they stole. The strategy was working perfectly. By attacking the Vorthok's most important facilities, humanity had forced them to abandon their conquests. Planets that had been under insect control for decades suddenly found themselves free as their oppressors fled to defend more critical targets. But the most significant development came from an unexpected source. Admiral Zexhai contacted Earth Command with a message that would change the entire nature of the war. Humans of Earth, the Kilari Confederation wishes to formally request membership in your military alliance. We have seen what you can accomplish, and we want to fight beside you until every Vorthik in the galaxy is dead. Within days, similar messages arrived from dozens of other species. Races that had been defeated and enslaved by the insects were rising in rebellion. They had waited for someone strong enough to lead them, and now they had found humanity. President Carter received reports of the growing alliance with satisfaction. General, how many species have joined us now? Ma'am, we have formal military agreements with 43 different civilizations. Intelligence estimates suggest another 100 species are organizing resistance movements on Vorthak-occupied worlds. The tide of the war had turned completely. What had started as a humanitarian mission to help Kilari refugees had become a galaxy-wide uprising against insect tyranny. And at the center of it all were humans who had proven that sometimes the only way to stop evil was to destroy it completely. Admiral Jack Murphy stood on the bridge of the flagship Humanity, watching the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history prepare for the final assault. 3,000 human warships hung in space around him, supported by vessels from 43 allied species. The target was the Vorthak homeworld system and the complete destruction of the insect empire. Admiral, we are receiving final position reports from all task forces, announced Captain Nicole Parker from the Fleet Coordination Station. Every ship is in position and ready for assault. Murphy looked at the tactical display showing the enemy system. The Vorthak had pulled back every available ship to defend their homeworld. Intelligence estimated over 5,000 insect vessels waited in the system, along with orbital defense platforms that could destroy entire fleets. Captain, signal all commanders that Operation Final Solution is authorized. Let us finish what these monsters started. The Allied fleet jumped to hyperspace in perfect coordination. When they emerged in the Vorthik system, they faced the most heavily defended position in galactic history. The insect homeworld was surrounded by defensive rings that stretched for millions of kilometers. Massive weapons platforms floated in space like metal moons bristling with enough firepower to sterilize planets. But humanity had learned from every battle of the war. General Alex Stone had spent months planning this assault, and he had prepared for every possible defense the Vorthek might use. All ships execute Battle Plan Armageddon, Murphy ordered. The human fleet did not attack directly. Instead, they deployed a weapon that Dr. Kate Williams had been developing in secret for the entire war. Millions of small drones launched from human ships and began flying toward the Vorthak defenses. Each drone was too small for enemy sensors to track individually, but together they carried enough biological warfare agents to contaminate an entire star system. As they approached the defensive platforms, the drones released their cargo into space. Admiral, the biological agent is spreading through their defensive network, reported Dr. Williams from her science station aboard the Humanity. The Vorthek communication system is being infected with our neural virus. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The carefully coordinated Vorthak defense fell apart as their hive mind communication system was flooded with false signals and contradictory orders. Weapons platforms that should have been targeting human ships instead began firing on each other. All ships advance, Murphy ordered. Do not give them time to adapt. The Allied fleet surged forward through the gaps in the Vorthak defense. Captain, Lisa Brown led a squadron of fast attack ships directly toward the planet, while Colonel Ryan Davis coordinated bomber strikes on the orbital installations. The battle for Vorthak Prime lasted 18 hours and became the most destructive engagement in galactic history. Entire fleets were destroyed in minutes as weapons designed to crack planets were fired at point-blank range. The space around the homeworld became a graveyard of shattered vessels from both sides, but human tactics and preparation proved decisive. The Vorthak had built their defenses to stop enemies who fought like they did. They had never faced opponents who were willing to sacrifice everything to achieve total victory. "Admiral, we have breached the final defensive ring," reported Captain Brown over the communication system. "Human forces are establishing orbital control around the planet." Murphy felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. Victory was within reach, but the cost had been enormous. Nearly half the human fleet was destroyed or damaged beyond repair. Hundreds of thousands of brave men and women had died to reach this moment. Colonel Davis began landing operations. "Implement full sterilization protocols." The invasion of Vorthak Prime was unlike any military operation in history. The planet's surface was a nightmare landscape of hive cities that stretched from horizon to horizon. Billions of insects lived in towering structures built from the bones of their victims. The air itself was toxic with the waste products of uncounted generations of killers. Davis led his Marines through the hive tunnels, hunting for the Vorthak Emperor and his command council. The fighting was brutal as desperate insects made their last stand in the deepest chambers of their world. "Colonel, we have located the primary hive chamber," reported Sergeant Maria Lopez over the radio. "The Emperor is here along with what looks like his entire government." Davis moved through the tunnels toward the chamber, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. The war had started with a simple request for aid from desperate refugees. Now it was ending with the complete extermination of an entire species. The Emperor's chamber was a vast space carved from living rock. In the center sat a creature that was larger than any Vorthak Davis had seen before. The Emperor stood nearly 4 meters tall with 6 arms instead of 4 and mandibles that could bite through steel. When the Emperor spoke, his voice carried the arrogance of a being that had never known defeat. "Human creatures, you think you have won, but you have only doomed yourselves. The Vorthak have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We will rule it for 10,000 more." Davis raised his weapon but did not fire immediately. "Your empire is finished. Every hive world is burning. Your fleets are destroyed. Your people are dead or dying. It is over." The Emperor made the grinding sound that passed for laughter among his species. "Foolish mammal. Even if you kill every Vorthak in this system, there are other hives in distant galaxies. We will return and your soft species will feed our young." Davis smiled coldly. "That is where you are wrong. Humanity does not fight wars to achieve temporary victories. When we decide to destroy an enemy, we make sure they never come back." He activated a communication device that connected him to Dr. Williams aboard the Humanity. Doctor released the final solution. Across the Vorthak homeworld and throughout their empire, Dr. Williams activated the ultimate biological weapon. Specially designed plague began spreading through every hive and every insect population. It was targeted specifically at Vorthak genetic markers and would kill only them while leaving every other species untouched. The plague was also designed to be permanent. It would remain active in the environment for centuries, ensuring that no Vorthak population could ever re-establish itself. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years would be extinct within a matter of days. "You have killed billions of sentient beings," the Emperor said as the plague began affecting even him. Davis felt no regret. "You killed trillions of innocent people. You tortured children for sport. You turned entire worlds into charnel houses. The universe will be better off without you." The Emperor died within minutes along with every other Vorthak in the galaxy. The species that had seemed invincible was gone forever. President Carter received the final report of the war while standing in the Oval Office looking out at the gardens. Secretary Webb handed her a single sheet of paper that contained just a few sentences. Ma'am Admiral Murphy reports that all Vorthic military installations have been destroyed. All hive worlds have been sterilized. The species is extinct. The war is over. Carter set the paper down and thought about the cost. Humanity had lost nearly 1 million people in the fighting. Dozens of worlds had been damaged or destroyed. The economic cost would take decades to recover from, but they had also liberated hundreds of worlds and saved billions of lives. The galaxy was free from the most evil empire it had ever known. Admiral Zexhi visited Earth one final time to formally thank humanity for their aid. He met with Captain Brown in the same room where he had first requested help almost 2 years earlier. Captain Brown, my people asked humans for aid in our darkest hour. You gave us more than we ever dreamed possible. Lisa smiled, but her expression was serious. Admiral, we did what we had to do. Evil like that cannot be allowed to exist anywhere in the universe. How did humans learn to wage war so effectively? Lisa thought about the question carefully before answering. Admiral, we have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We learned long ago that if something is worth fighting for, it is worth fighting for completely. When we decided to help your people, we committed everything we had to making sure you would never need help again. The conversation became legendary throughout the galaxy. It explained why humanity had been so successful where others had failed. Most species fought wars to achieve limited objectives. Humans fought wars to eliminate the threats completely. In the years that followed, Earth became the center of a new galactic alliance dedicated to protecting peaceful species from aggression. The human defense doctrine became the foundation of interstellar law. Any species that committed genocide or systematic cruelty would face the full military might of the alliance. The Vorthak had asked for total war when they began their campaign of galactic conquest. They had just made the mistake of asking humans to provide it.